Hello, good afternoon everyone, and thank you for joining us on the program Stewardship with SNB, live from the studios of RSTV in Port Harcourt. You can only watch RSTV on GoTV channel 142, and of course on our social media handles such as YouTube and Facebook at RSTV Online. My name is Solomon Nesubreid. We'll just take a short break, and when we return, I'll let you know who my guests are in the studio. Don't go away. Well, if you have just joined us, the program is Stewardship with SMB from the studios of RSTV in Port Harcourt. Today our focus shall be on Disability Rights Initiative brought to you by Fair Care Foundation, supported by Disability Rights Fund, part of Disability Rights Initiative project, with the aim of promoting and advancing disability rights. And our focus today is accessibility. Of course, it is also the Frankie Andrew Essien Care Foundation, otherwise known as Fair Care Foundation, which is an organization with a vision to add value to the lives of target vulnerable groups in our society and communities, being orphans and vulnerable children, persons with disabilities, youth, and the less privileged in society. Through a variety of organization-led programs and partnerships for 11 years, they have provided step-gap support for these large vulnerable targets. For people with disabilities, they have empowered persons with disabilities, especially women with disabilities, through different empowerment and capacity building programs. They also advocate to enhance social inclusion for people living with disabilities and continue to advocate for better policies and disability rights. So joining me today on the program are a gentleman and of course a lady. First is the lady Ifeoma Precious Odogwu of Fair Care Foundation. Ifeoma, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, sir.
And the other guest I have in the studio is John Akpelu Chinoso.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, welcome.
Thank
All right, let me start with Ifeoma. What do you understand by disability before we move forward? What do you understand by disability?
Okay, disability has to do with persons that have a form of impairment, like people that are unable to use their ear, their sense of hearing, people that maybe have lost their sight. Then we have amputees, people that use wheelchairs. We can classify them as disability, but as persons with disability. But most times it's the society that makes the disabling process very hard, because there are no right accessibility measures. So that is when we say disability has really occurred.
Okay, you're almost taking us to the next topic, accessibility. But let me ask John Akpelu Chinoso, what do you understand by disabilities? And is it man-made or nature-made?
Okay, disability is an inability to be able to make use of what are supposed to be used, and it is also a kind of, like my sister did mention, is an impairment where one has a kind of challenge that limits the person from performing optimally physically or neurologically, as in sense organs and all the rest of them, with other known person with disability.
But they say there's ability in disability. Would you say you're not able to do anything?
No, why not? Why not?
So tell us about it.
I think when we cannot be able to use what we have, like as a human, when one is physically or mentally challenged, one might not be able to function optimally. That doesn't mean that if there is some ability factors that is given to the person, that the person will not perform as per se.
So in what ways can you function as a Akpelu that you are?
Okay, even being on wheelchair, like as I am, I'm a home lesson teacher.
Oh, great.
So that doesn't limit me that that I'm inability, that I have the inability to do whatever. That's what I do.
What subject do you teach?
I teach mathematics, English, and the general sciences. Yeah, by special grace of God, and that is what I add something on my table.
There's a general theory in mathematics: minus plus minus is what?
So minus plus minus. If you are timesing it, it will be plus. But if you are just on the plus sign, minus minus, it's still minus. Then if you are dividing it, minus divided by minus will be plus. It will cancel out. Then minus times and minus will be plus. But when you are saying minus, let's say minus 1, minus 1 is still minus, but it will be minus 2.
I'm very sure that our viewer will be very proud of you because you are indeed able, even though you're physically disabled. So let me turn to Ifeoma now. What do we understand by accessibility in discussing this disability matter?
Thank you, sir. So accessibility has to do with being able to, approach, for example, a building, being able to enter the building, use the building, and also leave the building with ease. So according to the United Nations Convention on the Right of Persons with Disability, that is what accessibility is for persons with disability.
Okay. All right. So
to add something there also, not only assessing the physical structure, but making use of, like at times you get to a building, they have ramp, you manage and you get in, but making use of other facilities like the door that leads to the toilet or any other facility that needed to be used are very narrow, that persons on wheelchair, physical accessibility. So you can see the building might appear to be accessible outside, but inside. So the holistic view of this accessibility we are talking about is the ability to make use of the building, stay in and out, just like she did mention. So making use of other facilities and services. It can also be in form of audiovisual and the sign language interpretation, that the inclusion of, because at times our hearing impaired persons might not be able to hear what we said vocally, but by a way of it. So the building, the place should also, the service provider or whatever, they should include all those things holistically, because not only just the physical environment, that should be all these other ways, because this disability is just like an umbrella.
That gives rise to information accessibility and of course communication accessibility. Could you throw a little light on that?
So information accessibility is all about having access to information. For example, we know that
disabled.
Yes, by persons with disability. So we don't call them disabled.
Oh yes.
Yes. So for example, we know that the blind are persons with disability. So for example, let's say you just wrote a book. How will they have access to that book? So you have to make it accessible, make that information in the book accessible by translating it into Braille so that they can read it and understand it. Then when we talk about communication accessibility, is also, having access to communications. We also know that there are some certain group of persons that cannot speak and cannot hear. So how do you communicate to them? How do you transfer information to them? You provide sign language interpreters so that whatever you're saying, they will get it.
Okay, these are some of the barriers which people living with disabilities face. Do you have any other ones to include the barriers?
Okay, the barriers is the attitudinal barrier.
Okay.
Where people see persons with disability as people who are, will I say, underfavored by God, people who are cursed, or people who generally cannot perform in any way. So they prejudge even when they have not put it to test to see if actually there is something upstairs.
But I just put it to test and there is something upstairs.
Yeah, so that's what we are
I'm
seeing.
a mathematician, but I have general knowledge in mathematics. And I just put you to test now. I believe that the viewer will not know that there's ability in disability. Okay, so you want to add more information to what I just asked, the
Yes.
barriers.
Yeah, that's the one. The first one I said that I mentioned attitudinal barrier.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a very huge one because so many persons, if not for advocacy and so many other things that has made people to be enlightened about persons with disability. At times, like that was when I was just passing through the road, someone was like stretch out hand to like give me money. I rejected. It's not because maybe I don't like favor, but the manner in which the person give to me, he sees me as maybe it's like this person is begging, but I was actually waiting for a cab that would take me to where I am. But because I was in a sports, they were like stretching and I refused because that is my nature. I hardly. So all those kind of, so it's a very, very huge limitation to all, where you prejudge persons without even knowing what actually do the person need, what can the person perform.
So do you think government policies have actually favored people living with disabilities, as you know?
No.
Tell us about it.
Not at all. Most of the policies have not been that inclusive, because if it has favored us, at least when it comes to employment opportunities, if I should just digress a little bit, I've not seen a policy, they have not domesticated it here in Rivers State, because the Disability Discrimination Act signed into law 2018 was when they promulgated the law, signed into law in 2019 January by the then former president, the immediate President Buhari. Yeah. So in one of the laws said that there should be 5% affirmative action in employment to persons with disability whenever they are carrying out any employment activity. So we have not seen that really materialize.
But has your association made any case to the federal or state government in respect of this 5% affirmative action for people living with disabilities?
Yes, such we have already written. I believe there is a discussion on that. Like we have already written to them. There is some process that are trying to put in place, but now it's not yet operational in Rivers State here.
All right, we're talking with gentlemen in the studio, Ifeoma Precious Odogwu and John Akpelu Chinonso, both of whom are of Fair Care Foundation, a body that is advocating for the rights of people living with disabilities, and of course giving arms to these fellows to make their life better as they are. My name is Solomon, and we'll just take a short break, and when we return, we'll talk more about people living with disabilities and of course the rights government made, policies government formulated to give them their desired rights. Stay with us. In case you're just joining us, the program is To Worship with SMB, and my guests in the studio are Ifeoma Precious Odogwu and that of John Akpelu Chinonso, both of whom are of the Fair Care Foundation that is giving recognition and of course rights, fighting for the rights of people living with disabilities. Gentlemen and lady, welcome again to the program.
Thank you.
All right, let me start with Ifeoma on this segment. Ifeoma, what do you understand by universal design?
So universal design has to do with putting everybody in consideration. So I like to use examples.
Go on.
So for example, you want to erect a structure, a building. You need to think about everybody that is going to use that building. You need to think about persons with disability that are going to access that building. So universal design.
Not for yourself alone.
Not for yourself.
Or your family alone.
No, not for yourself or your family alone.
Okay.
It's even advised that you think accessibility, because old age will definitely catch up with all of us. So for example, if you're erecting maybe a 3-story building, when old age comes, how will you
climb up
access
to the third floor?
Most times you see that it's rats that will occupy the third floor.
So you're advocating that putting up a structure,
yes,
they must consider people living with disabilities.
Yes, accessibility.
Yes.
So from the beginning, it's not just structure, though we are focusing on physical structures. So even a program that you want to arrange, say you want to do a program now, and you're looking at inviting the whole public, you know that there are specific people that are persons with disability. What if they come to your program? How do they access the building to that program if there are no ramps, if it's just stairs, or if you don't provide a sign language interpreter? The days that are coming to that program, how will they understand what the message you're trying to pass? So you see, universal design says, think about when it comes to environment, when it comes to services, when it comes to facilities, building, think accessibility.
You have anything to add?
Let me just add something there.
Universal design.
Yeah, the universal design, as you did mention also, that from the planning stage, there should be this inclusiveness of creating also a pathway. In fact, building it in such a way that it's not like later somebody will have to begin to readjust, we have to begin to give assistance for the person to be able to access a place. No, that's not the design. We are talking for example, like the mobile phone is made in such a way that even the visually impaired someone can make use of it, because there is this talk back that read the screen. So these are what we are talking. So you see that their device is made universally in a way that both persons with disability, with any kind of disability, will be able to make use of it. That is one example of a universal design. So we are saying that the same thing should be applied in both the structures, in terms of communication, in terms of information from the beginning. Such features that will enable both persons with disability and non-person with disability should be embedded together in that design.
So does the universal design have a relationship with usability?
Yes.
Tell us.
So when we talk about usability, you have to be the ability to use something with ease. That is usability. So if there is any encumbrances, then it's not that usable. Encumbrances might be in the side of non-person with disability or persons with disability, because we are talking holistically accessibility, both as it concerns persons with disability and non-persons with disability. They should merge it together and make sure that everybody is being carried along.
Okay, so it will interest you to know that John Akpelu Chinonso is a graduate of computer mathematics and computer or something. Computer science. Okay, from the River State University, and he's been doing well imparting knowledge to others, meaning that everything is working perfectly well with him. So let me turn to Ifeoma now. Ifeoma, could you throw a little light on that usability as it's linked to universal design?
So just like he said, is basically using a product or a facility with ease. And it's not just for persons with disabilities, for everybody, because people,
both the aged and of course children and all that.
Yes, because people cannot enjoy what they cannot access. So you need to build, you need to think about accessibility so that people can use whatever service, whatever product with ease. So that's just basically.
What about availability? The concept of availability.
Yeah. Okay, let me come in there. So when we say availability, it's when the thing is available, readily available for use. So
what is that thing? Physical structure?
Okay, not just the physical structure, the entrance to that physical structure.
Okay.
The way it should be made, it should be available. For example,
Maybe
there
the
should be
road.
ramp.
Maybe the road.
The ramp.
Okay.
Yes, the ramp, there should be ramp. It shouldn't be a matter of, we have people like this, and you begin to run around while other people are still having access to the place, and you are looking for a way to fit them in. So there should be available, accessible means that we can have to that either event or.
You want to add to what he said?
Yes, yeah, I basically support you.
Oh, you support it?
Yes.
Okay, let's take a look at another concept, or let's rather break down the accessibility in the context of disability. So I'll break that down, Ifeoma. Accessibility in the context of disability.
So I think it's basically what we've been talking about. So
we can just throw a little light.
Yes, accessibility in respect to physical structure, in respect to information, in respect to communication. We need access. We need access because all these things are things that humans engage in, right? And persons with disability are humans, so they do not have to start demanding for those things because it's a human right. It's a human right, so it's something that they should enjoy.
Okay, so how do you think government can correct some of these pitfalls that you've pointed out?
Okay.
Because if government does not have a deliberate policy to making the status of people living with disabilities better, then the problems will continue. So how do we get the attention of government to address your plight?
Okay, let me come in there. What government should do is first domesticate that discrimination against persons with disability act. If they should domesticate it here in Rivers State, most of the rights that are there, and when they domesticate it, there should be a follow-up. That government can even set up a monitoring team to see if both the private sector and the government agency should sit up to make sure that such act is being carried on as it were there in the act. So
how do we correct? How does government correct these pitfalls?
Okay, so government needs to lead by example because, for example,
What an example?
Okay, for example, the law states that in 5 years' time, persons with disability can sue.
Which have elapsed
has elapsed.
as at last year.
Can sue.
Yes, can sue.
Right.
So, say for example, they come into this place, arrest TB, and maybe you are recruiting, and these persons are qualified to work here. But then you discriminate the person just because the person has a disability, right? The person can sue you, can sue arrest TB. So government needs
with evidence that he was disallowed.
Yes, that he was discriminated against. So government needs to lead by example. Okay. You've already stated that 5% employment is for persons with disability, right? So when you're employing, where are the persons with disability that you're employing?
Why do you think these laws are not being implemented by government? Akpelu.
Okay, why this law, it just, will I say, is negligence on the part of the government. Because I don't see reason why this law should not be implemented, because this law is a human right, and disability can happen to anyone. So it's no matter of it's not me, it doesn't concern me. You may not know, you can't foretell tomorrow what will be of your fate or of one you know. So it's negligent on the part of the government, and maybe at one point, or the stereotype about persons with disability, where they see them as just beggars, as they roam in the street, as they think as we look, maybe that is how the brain is. So, and that is the need why we see this advocacy here and there, in order to sensitize them that look, it is not like they see us in a different angle from that angle you are seeing us. So it's because they are still looking at us to some extent that we can't perform. That is what I think. I don't actually know. I can't know why other yardstick that they are using to judge us. Why they?
You were at the River State University, am I correct?
Yes.
Were you discriminated against while you were in school, either by teachers or your colleagues in class?
Yeah. Not by teachers directly, but by the student and by the structure, because automatically when we cannot access a structure that is meant for the public or a service that is meant for the public, you have directly or indirectly discriminated against us, because I know the challenges I have to pass through to get to class, because it's third floor, so I have to stay. Most times I miss classes.
So did we hear discriminated against you when you came in? Did we?
No.
You had free access.
Yes.
It was smooth. It was a smooth sail.
Yeah.
So he give us a passport.
But I don't know if getting up.
But you're not going up. You're not going up.
It has to be there. That is what we are saying, that all these things have to be there. You don't have to wait until the issue arises.
Okay.
In fact, the issue is already with us now,
Yeah.
and we know about it. So it's for us to start doing something in regards to that.
So tell us a little bit about the Fair Care Foundation. Would you say they have been at the forefront of advocating for the rights of people living with disabilities?
Yes, they have. For over 10 years now, they've been advancing the right of persons with disability. But we've been undergoing trainings upon trainings to be advocates. As persons with disability, you need to speak up for yourself. You need to know your rights. Like, I think last week we had one training, and we had a lot of persons. Fair Care Foundation has trained a lot of persons that can now boldly speak up for themselves.
So whenever people living with disabilities protest to drive home a point, maybe to government house or elsewhere, what do they tell people? And do they actually implement the things they tell you?
Okay. Most times what I see is they will corner some persons
Amongst you?
amongst us, yes.
Oh, really?
Give
So
some
you
certain-
yourself are a problem to yourself. That's what it means.
some,
Personal
yes,
barrier.
that's what that, yes, because some of us, let's just be plain, some are not, how will I put it, some are still living in ignorance, let me use that word, you understand?
Some people living with disabilities.
Yes, some like, yes, and that is why Fair Care Foundation is doing
corners.
justice to it by at least training up advocates, training up people, enlightening people on these issues, because yes, we know.
In other words, sorry to cut in, in other words, you're saying that your leaders go to government and collect money.
So
And
some
pocket the
leaders,
money.
not all the leaders, because you know we have diverse challenges.
Okay.
We have the hearing impaired,
Okay.
we have so on different strata you will hear some kind of news how they went for to demand for their right, and at the end government will, at times they will come, not actually they have in mind to address that issue, but just to make sure that they water down their spirit, you know. Okay, we have heard, and see one or
So
two persons.
don't you think that no action is not taken because some of your leaders are slowing down action?
Yes, some
In
of
this
them.
respect?
Yes, they are not exonerated totally. Some of them are actually part of our problem in the society.
Would that be correct?
It's true.
What is true? Tell us.
All what he has
We're
said.
looking at solutions
All
to
what he has said.
people living with
Though
disabilities, and we have just found one impediment from amongst the leadership of people living with disabilities. You are asking for AYZ from government, but if you look inwards, those of them who are leading people with disabilities are a problem to the a problem to the progress of these fellows. Do you subscribe to that view?
Yes, I do. These people, I think they are living for the moment. They are not looking at the bigger picture. They are not, and most of them, they are self-centered. Like, what will I gain now? And most times when they give you that money, you squander it and you come back for protest.
Just as it were too in the general world, even the able-bodied people,
Yes,
it do
it
happen. So we are all human beings. The whole thing that happened there is happened to us. So that is why we say there is no need to discriminate. We are all human beings. The ability you have, we have. The kind of things you can, because we are human beings. Those are the general tendencies with human, where some live for today.
We have
and not
limited,
tomorrow.
we have limited time.
Yeah.
Just tell us about Fair Care Foundation.
Okay, Fair Care Foundation is a non-governmental organization, as I know. For the past few years, I've come across them. They are doing wonderfully well. So it's an organization that has been training and retraining people, enlightening people, carrying out disability right, advocating for this right of persons with disability in society.
In what ways has Fair Care affected you?
Okay, I was able to come here through Fair Care Foundation. I was not this vocal. I'm this kind of person that...
You are an introvert.
Yeah. Exactly. To an extent, so it take me time to like come out and speak in public, let alone to appear in...
But you're a university graduate.
Okay, yeah, I know what I'm saying. The training I have gotten has actually boosted my level of knowledge, appearance, and public speaking. That is it, because we were also trained to be a public speaker in Fair Care Foundation. So at least I have gained that skill. I didn't learn it anywhere, because the one we do in school is just 5 minutes, isn't it? But we have spent almost 30 minutes here talking and interacting with
So in what ways would you want to advise Fair Care to also look at, so that their job can be actually holistic?
Okay,
what areas they are found wanting, and if you advise them, and what will you advise?
Already, to the best of my knowledge and the ability of what I've seen going on, he has been doing well. I give him that pass mark, because both the hearing impaired, the skin, the albino, have been, so many of all these clusters have been encapsulated, carried along in this Fair Care Foundation, in all their trainings and programs that they are doing. So what I will advise him, our advice Fair Care Foundation is that let them continue with the good job that they are doing. Let them redouble effort, so that they will push this awareness to the nook and crannies, not only Rivers State, but to Nigeria at large, so that tomorrow tomorrow start now, which is the future we are talking about, so that the future of other ones, persons with disability, what we have suffered in the past, they don't have to pass through that stage. There should be an accessible place. So I encourage them to continue, because they're already doing well.
All right, Ifeoma, could you use 2 sentences to pass a message to either the government or organizations or society in general in relation to the welfare and rights of people living with disabilities?
Okay, so one, I would say accessibility should be everyone's concern. Then secondly, persons with disability are humans. They have human rights. So give them access, think inclusion in whatever programs that you're doing.
All right, Akpelu.
Okay. My parting word for the viewers, for the people of Rivers State and Nigeria,
and the government in particular,
and the government, yes, is that they should domesticate the discrimination against persons with disability at law, and they should also ensure that everything that is in that law should be carried headlong. By so doing, is going to neutralize all these barriers and hurdles that we face.
All right, John Akpelu Chinonso of Fair Care Foundation, thank you so much for your time with us.
Thank you, sir.
And the former Precious Odogwu, thank you so much
for
coming by.